This is how I made $3,000 from the comfort of my home just from understanding candle behavior on Solana. And it sounds crazy, but Solana futures is something you can actually day trade. And this is how I made $3,000 in just an hour today. And let's get into it. Let me explain to you exactly how I did it, my thought process, so that you can do this too. And the worst part is I wasn't even able to fully capitalize on the trade because it went all the way up to the external draw and I was out already like 3 years ago. But it's okay, we learn, and that's precisely what I'm going to be getting into today, just explaining my thought process and see how you can do this too. But we don't need this anymore. All we need to know is that I closed at 28.44, so around this area, and I'll explain exactly why I closed around that area. Anyways, let's get this guy out of the way. So the most important thing that I need you to understand is the higher time frame. So if you haven't watched my previous video, I explained all about the higher time frame, hourly candle, so that you understand these terms, so that you don't get confused, and also so I can move a little bit faster because I don't want to spend 20 years explaining these trades since I'm going to be doing it multiple times a week. Anyways, so let's go back to the 30 mark and explain exactly my thought process on why I was trading PM. So as you may know already, I only trade AM and PM on New York because it's the most volatile. As you can see, Asia has nothing, London has nothing. New York, boom, we manipulate up, then we manipulate down. There's tons of volume, just plenty of opportunity to make a lot of money. So why did I go for longs here? Okay, so visually, for any NQ trader looking at this is going to say, oh, we had a draw on the downside here. We actually swept out these lows and actually closed below, leaving behind a fair value gap on the higher time frame. That's the most important thing that I need you to understand. So first thing I looked at is AM, we did not have a trade. Yes, I could have gone for shorts, but we didn't have any SMTs, we didn't have any external draws, we didn't have any reasons to reject up here, no SMT, not my model, so I didn't trade it. Correct, yes, shorts did play out. However, I was not able to catch this because it's just not simply my model. However, my model did present itself once we swept out this low. Why? Because we had swept a lot of liquidity. So this is where we're gonna combine two very, very simple things. One thing that you might have seen online on Instagram, plenty of people use it, like PB trading, which is targeting unmitigated fair value gaps. So an example would be now, as of now, this is before the trade even happens, what have we just done? We've inverted this massive gap on the higher time frame. What does that mean? It means that no matter what, if we are going to be continuing bearish or continuing bullish from here, we are supposed to tap into the 50% or the OTE of this fair value gap, or inefficiency, whatever you want to call it, which is basic ICT concept. So as of now, why am I looking to long? Because whether we are bullish or bearish, which means in both scenarios, we are planning to at least go somewhere in this imbalance, fill the imbalance before either continuing up or continuing down. So now if our overall higher time frame bias is bullish or bearish, it doesn't matter. I am just trading a reaction. And I can double confirm this because if we go on the hourly for Bitcoin as well, you will see that we have also created this imbalance. We've left behind this huge IFEG on the higher time frame, and we're looking to rebalance to this IFEG before either heading down or upwards. That is the core principle. So now what are we going to do? How do I know that there's going to be a reaction here? Very important. We go and we look at Coinglass. This is something I talked about in my last video. Coinglass is super important. I can actually go back that far, but I will show you where exactly it happened. It happened right here. So on Bitcoin, remember the bigger coin with $1 trillion market cap swept around $200 million worth of liquidity just on Binance alone on the exchange, which means that we've had a huge liquidity sweep. Not to mention, most importantly on Solana as well, we also swept around 20 million of liquidity just on Binance here. So we swept liquidity. That's the important part. See here, we did not sweep any liquidity. We only swept liquidity once we took the low, right? So this specific low right here, this right here is our POI because we had swept liquidity. Now we're looking for a reaction. I don't care if we had to break a structure, even though that is a bearish signal. I am just trading the reaction. The reaction, man. That is all we're looking for, okay? So now what am I looking for? Two criteria of entry are already finished. We have an unmitigated gap, which is a point of interest that we want to sweep out. And the second thing is we have a liquidity sweep, which on paper is extremely good for reactions. Now, the only thing we're worried about now is the entry. So how do I enter my trades? I do it with hourly candle behavior. So in order for us to move upwards, what do I want to see in the first quarter of that new hour, which is at 2 a.m.? I want to see the new 2 a.m. hourly candle open downwards first, and then have a reaction to create that bottom wick. And so what happens? So now let's wait for the hourly. Okay, boom. We just opened on the new hour. What just happened in the first quarter of the hour? We went downwards. We had the first opening candle of the hour move downwards and then instantly get engulfed. What does that mean? On the higher time frame, we just created a body and then flip. So we have a bottom wick now, which means that the overall direction of the candle should now be bullish because we are trending bullish. As we want the bullish reaction, we went into the 50% around of the previous bullish candle on the hourly and then flipped in the first 15 minutes. Boom, reaction. We enter right off that candle engulfing the 5 minute, and that is my entry right there. And now we just let it run. Now the only thing I'm thinking about is where do I take profit? Where is my target? Because you have to have your target set way before you even enter the trade, or else you're just gambling, okay? So where was my target? My target was simply the 50% or OTE of the imbalance that we just marked out on the hourly. Look, I have the overlay here just so we don't have to switch time frames. This is the hourly time frame. What did we have? We had our inversion. Where am I targeting for us to go? The halfway point of this inverse fair value gap. And now let's watch. Let's watch. Where did we end up going? Candles moving, boom, boom. We went down into the next hour. Boom, look at that. So even though we chopped around for a full hour, what did we get on the new hour open again? We had a rejection down to create that bottom wick. I hope you saw what just happened there. This hour kind of opened, went down, went bearish, but then flipped. That's exactly what happened on this candle as well. So even though on that hour I did not hit TP, I knew that PM session would end up playing out in my favor. Why? Because of this hourly candle behavior. And then boom, what do you know? We end up actually taking external New York AM high. But my point is, TP got smashed. Sure, I should have done TP1, TP2. But for a textbook trade, this is A+ because we have completely smashed that OTE level for the inverse fair value gap on the higher time frame. And it's that simple. It is that simple. Sometimes trading does not need to be complicated. Sometimes trading is simply 3 confluences, liquidity sweep, point of interest, imbalance, and that's it. But anyways, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Hopefully this helps you understand that there's multiple ways to trade and that sometimes keeping it simple is always best. I have to bounce. I have to go to dinner right now, but I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. And to many more. Hopefully this helps. See ya.